Page setup. In this video I'm going to show you how to use page setup to actually modify some parameters or some page settings on your Excel spreadsheets. For example, if you look at this particular page, let me reduce the zoom to like 75%. You discover that this is where my page 1 ends, and I have some other data which I actually want to include in my page 1, but I'm not really using the entire length of my page, so I can actually change my paper orientation from portrait, this is portrait shape, from portrait into landscape. To do that, I'll need to go to page setup, which we discussed in Microsoft Word in the previous video. Now I'm going to show you page setup. I'm going to change my paper orientation to landscape. I'm going to say OK. Now if you notice, the margin has actually changed. Now I've been able to use my page well now because I changed my paper orientation to landscape. Now another thing I need to show you is that if I click on print preview, for example, you discover that apart from the borderline which I draw, you discover that all those cells are actually not showing on your page. Now that's to tell you that all these cells that you're seeing, all these lines that you're seeing, will not appear when you print this document. This is how it's going to appear when you print it out. Now if you want all these cells to actually appear, because it will make it easy for anybody to actually trace any line in your document, what you need to do is to go back to that page setup, then go to margin menu, go to sheet menu rather. On sheet menu, under print, click on grid lines. If you check this grid line button, what you have when you print preview now is that you're going to have those grid lines around your text. Now I can actually see everything is having the grid lines now. I can say this is a cell, this is a cell, this is a cell, this is another cell, this is another cell. So which is easy for me to trace. Okay, this is mid-low output. Very easy for me to trace because everything is just a single. I can see the row, I can see the column. You understand? Unlike when I do not have the grid lines visible. You understand? When you do not have the grid line visible, it might be difficult for you to trace some of those things because you might actually have to give this particular value for this value. It depends on how good your eyesight is. But if you put the grid lines there, it's always very easy to actually spot anything you want to spot in your data. Now another thing I need to say is that in Excel spreadsheets, you do not need to go to file and create a new page every time you want to work on a new sheet. Let's say for example I'm done working on this sheet, for example, and I want to work on another sheet. I don't need to open a new page. I can just switch over to sheet 2 here. This is sheet 1, this is sheet 2, this is sheet 3. I can add more sheets by clicking on insert. I can insert new worksheets. You can see sheet 4. I can drag it here, I can drag it here. I can rename sheet 4 to any name I want it to be. Sheet 2, I can rename it to any name I want it to be. Now those are the things you can actually do with your Excel. You can actually work on just one single document. Let me save this as database. Let me just save it as data, for example. Now I can work on this single data and I have all my work on this particular file. You understand? Now one nice thing is that if you save if you're working with your spreadsheet, you can create as many sheets as you want to create and you can switch between them. You understand? That makes it easy for your work to be in one single set. So if you're actually putting, let's say, your account statement for the month of January, for the month of February, in different sheets, it's always very easy for you to go to, okay, let's say 2012 January, 2012 February, 2013 January, 2014 January. It's always very easy for you to switch between each of the cells because you can see everything in just one single data, because you don't need to start saving them separately like you do in Microsoft Word. And I don't need to start using all this entire length of the page. I can just use one sheet for one work. And once I'm done with that particular work, I can go to another sheet and have another work here on another sheet. That's one nice thing you can do with your Excel. Another thing I would like to show you is that sometimes when you're typing your data in, let's say for example I want to put 250 250.00. Now one thing you see is that my 250.00 is writing as 250 because it doesn't support me to put .00 in my data, and you might be required to put those .00, .250.01. That works, but .00 didn't work. Now if you want to put .00, what you need to do is go to your format menu, go to your cell. Under your cell, go to number. Under number, go to custom. On custom, choose this particular option here, which allows you to put all this particular option. You have different kind of option. If you go through the lists, you understand. If you want to put .00% to still allow it, these are all the options you have. You can go through. These are custom. So now I want to use this option. Then I'm going to type in. You can see that now, 350.00. So it makes it a lot easy for me to put in all this value, which you are not able to put in easily in your work. So if I'm expecting my answer to actually have those .00 as well, all I have to do is just go back to that particular cell, go to custom, and choose this option. What you see is that it's going to have that dot. If that value will give you .00, you'll see it there as well. Now that's one thing you can as well do with your cell menu. We talked about the alignment earlier. We talked about the number just now. You have currency. These are different currency. You can use negative, you can use positive. So in case you want to write a negative and it's actually not showing, just go back there to that cell to number and put a negative. If you're using number, use number. If you're using currency, use currency. You have accounting where you can choose different symbols. You have dollars, you have yen, Japanese yen, several currency. You have the euro, you have the pounds. Let's keep scrolling. Okay. So if I scroll down the list, there are other currency like naira. Nigerian naira happens not to be in the list of the symbol, but we have NGN. If you go through the list, you'll see NGN. NGN. This is Nigerian naira. That's a symbol. So you can see, unfortunately, it changes everything. But that is how to change the value into currency. So you just go back to cell, choose currency, and choose the type of currency you want. We're using NGN in Nigeria. There you can see now. So I can now decide to type in any value I want to type in. NGN 1234, whatever figure I want to type in. That tells you that is Nigerian naira. So that depends. Then you can change decimal place. This is 2 decimal place, 1 decimal place, 3 decimal places, 4 decimal place. It depends on what you want to do. You must know how to use all these values very well. Then we have accounting, we have dates. You can change your date into any of this. You have time, you have percentage. Your percentage can be in 2 decimal places as well. You have fraction. You can use fraction, halves, quarter, eighths, 16, tenths, hundreds. Scientific, you can use any of those values. Then you have special character. You have the zip code, your phone number, your social security number, and so on like that. Then you can choose different kind of country as well from the list. Now we have the fonts. You can still use your strike through, your superscript, your subscript if you want. Then you have your border where you can use a border. You have your pattern where you can use a pattern. Then those are the kind of things you can actually do with your formatting of your cell. It's very, very important you know how to use all those values to actually modify some of the things you want to do in your work. Now most of the time if you want to write naira, let's just say price in naira, I'll just put here. A lot of people will do this, so to tell you that okay, that is total price in naira. You understand? That is how to do that. Then it's possible for you to just use the NGN as well, but it depends on how you want to use format cell currency. Change your currency to your country. Once you change it to your country currency, you understand, then choose the type or the way, the format you want it to appear, whether it should appear without the bracket or with the bracket. Those are things you can actually do. Now there are other things you can actually do with your spreadsheet. You can actually put you can put what's it called, you can put a background on your sheets. So what I'm going to do now, if I click on background, I can choose any picture as my background. So you can see it can insert, you can put a background picture on your sheet. If I click on print preview, you won't see the picture there, but here you see the picture as a background of your sheet. So print preview, you can see the picture. Then but if I'm working on it, you see the picture on my sheet. So it depends on what you want to do. So if you don't want to put the background, you can always remove the background. If you want to put the background, you can always put the background. Now another thing I need to tell you is that with your Excel spreadsheets, you can do a lot of things, like you can plot a graph, you can do your charts and things like that. Then at the same time, you can use it to maintain your database. But for now, I have been able to show you how to add the grid line to your sheets using page setup, changing moving to sheets tab, checking grid lines to put the grid lines, or removing the grid lines to add the grid line, whatever. Then you can as well change your paper orientation from landscape to portraits. You can see that now. So then at the same time, you can change your paper size. Now I need to tell you that when you see your print quality as 300 dpi, that's very okay for you to print in. Don't change this particular value, except maybe your toner is too thick or your ink is too thick. You might actually want to change it to 200 dpi or 100 dpi. What dpi means is dots per inches. All the dots is going to use to in a particular inches to print anything you want to print. It's going to be about 300 dots per inches. That's the quality of the of your printing. You can as well change that as well. And lastly, I would like to say this, that if you want to print, you have to go to file, you go to print. Now you need to choose the name of your printer in the list. Now for this system, I do not have any printer installed, so all I have is XPS document writer, Office documents image writer. These are printer that I installed by default with my Microsoft Office. But if you have a printer on the list, you see the name of your printer. If you have installed the printer, you see the name of the printer on the list. You choose your printer. Each printer has its own properties, which is different from every other printer's properties. You can see this one has XPS document. If I change this from XPS to Office document, if I go to properties, the price of this one is not showing. If I change to fax, properties. Now each printer has its own properties. You can see that this properties is different from the other properties when we have the XPS document. You can see, so it depends on the kind of printer you have installed on your system. Now another thing I need to tell you is that if you want to print all pages, you choose all pages. If you want to print 5 copies of just one page, you choose 5 copies of each of the pages. It depends on how you want to. Then you want to print, let's say you want to print page 1 only, you say page 1 to 1. If you want to print page 1 to 5, you say page 1 to 5. It depends on what you want to print. If you want to print the selection, you select the particular portion you want to print, and you go back to your file, you say print, then you choose selection. It only print what you selected. Then if you want to print the entire workbook, just print the entire workbook, which might be very big. It depends on what you have on your spreadsheet. So I've been able to show you how to print. At the same time, I've been able to show you how to use your cell using your number, your currency, at the same time using your pattern. Now I'm able to show you how to add decimal numbers into your spreadsheets. At the same time, I've been able to show you how to add background. You can as well fill this particular place with a color. You can fill with any color of your choice. That's a fill color. You can use font color for the text. Text is written in A. You can use font color for the text. You understand? All those kind of things are the kind of things you can do with your spreadsheets. I hope this video has been informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.